Look up the word crazy in the dictionary and you might just find an asterisk beside the definition that says, listen to the Subiquitous podcast featuring Sue Duffield and you'll find out what crazy means. Sue's travelogue journey of unfiltered stories, impossible miracles, and faith-filled fun will be revisited right here. So buckle up and let's get going with this humorous travelogue of an unfiltered saint, Subiquitous.
It's episode number 122, and let me tell you something. You're going to learn a lot. Well, maybe not in the educational realm, but we're going to learn some things that I just didn't know. Did you know learning new things, in fact, that famous phrase, you learn something new every day, that has been used over 50 million times every 5 minutes around the world. Somebody is saying you learn something new every day, 50 million times every minute. That's crazy. I never heard of such a thing. But anyway, listen up for some amazing facts about words, maybe even about China and a whole lot more that you probably really don't want to know. But we're going to do this because this title, Jeff and I learned something we didn't know. And every single day, we are just astounded. As we get older, we find out that there's still some things that we don't know. Well, here's one for you. Raise your hand if you knew that the dot over the I, the letter I, is called a tittle. Who knew that? I know some of you smart Alex out there probably knew it, but it does have a name, and it's called a tittle. It's an awkward name, truthfully, but believe me or not, it's true. And now, when writing on paper, which most people don't do anymore, we're just texting, or this culture, they don't even know how to write in cursive. But anyway, when I write the letter J or I draw little circles instead of dots. But I'd say they're still little tittles. What do you think? Well, what do your tittles look like? I don't know. I really shouldn't probably go any further here because this is such an awkward word. But what a fun word. Just find out for yourself what that skin on your elbow is called. Most likely you shouldn't use that word or the word tittle ever, but at least you won't be embarrassed now when you hear your English professor or somebody smart tell you to not forget your tittles. Okay, how about this one? Orange, purple, and silver do not have any words that rhyme with it. Now, we all know that in the English language, orange has no word that rhymes with it. But it's not alone, and there are many others like silver and purple. And no, nurple is not a word, or slurple, or whatever Ray Stevens said. But listen, there are more words without a rhyme. Ones that will have you thinking and researching for hours are month, ninth, pint, and wolf. Don't put any of those words in a song or a poem. You're not going to have a rhyming word. But then there are more obvious ones like dangerous, marathon, and discombobulate. There may be exceptions to those words, like words brought over from another language or words from the Urban Dictionary. But according to the Oxford Dictionary, these words have no rhyming comparisons. They're like the prime numbers of words. And let's not even get into the prime number because that's another story. But anyway, I don't think we're allowed to call them prime words, just words without rhyming words. All right, here's another one. Did you know that honey is the only natural food that does not go bad? Oh, man. Listen, there are two things in honey that help it naturally, preserve itself. One is water, which is immortal, and sugar, which is naturally good at staying fresh. In fact, a 3,000-year-old Egyptian pot of honey was found, and it was just as edible as ever. Although I don't think I really want it, but because if anything leaked into the honey, you could get food poisoning or even die. However, if there's ever a fallout, make sure you have plenty of honey to be set for life. Wow! Who would know? This is good stuff, things that I didn't know. Now, what happens if Pinocchio says, "My nose will grow now"? Well, this is scary, but really think about it. Just don't hurt yourself. What would happen if Pinocchio said, "My nose will grow now," according to reputable sources? A paradox. It's called the Pinocchio paradox. It can no way be true, but it can't be false if it actually happens. It's very confusing. Stick with me here. This is the only sentence Pinocchio could say that has no truth or false to it. It depends on the tense, of course, but if worded right, it could use major, in fact, cause major problems. If he said, "My nose grows," well, this is true. But if he said something like, "My nose is going to grow now," things are different. That would mean that his nose would grow because it's the truth, but it does not grow now because he said it would. I know I'm confusing you. I'm confusing myself. But listen to me. Then it would have to grow because it didn't grow. Then it wouldn't grow because it did, and he said it would. The cycle is endless. Yes, this is the girl that wrote the song LOL. This is how my brain works. Did you know that Facebook is illegal in China? It's true. In fact, China, Iran, and North Korea. Bzz, no Facebook. It happened in July 2009 when all the riots led to the independent activists using Facebook as part of their communications network. There's a problem with Google in China, which led to the banning of Google. And if you think that's crazy, you may be surprised to hear that Snapchat, Pinterest, Twitter, and Instagram are also banned there. Did you know you cannot chew gum or even have gum in the country of Malaysia? It is illegal. And let me tell you something. If you are chewing gum on the streets of Singapore or Malaysia, you could be arrested and thrown in jail. Oh, man, when I was there 10 years ago, trust me, I got rid of all my gum. I'm not going to jail for gum. Did you also know that an apple, onion, and potato all taste the same? This is really weird to me. I don't know. I read this. Okay, we know it's probably not exactly true, but there's one small hack that can make it true. Just hold your nose, and it turns out like 99% of tasting these foods comes from your sense of smell. So if you blindfold someone, clip their nose, and feed them each of these, you're going to be surprised at the results. I can't wait to hear this. You don't believe me? Go ahead and try it. Hold your nose, bite into an onion, bite into a potato, and bite into an apple, and you're going to think that they're all the same. Weird. Things I just didn't know. Well, another one that doesn't surprise me, but it scares me a little bit. The country of China knows more English than the United States. Back to China again and its dense population. There are about 1.3 billion people in China, and that's like more than a fifth or 20% of the entire population of the earth. And the U.S. only has a tenth of that many people at just over 300 million. It makes you feel really small right now. Well, although there aren't more fluent English speakers in China than the U.S., nor is percentage even close to what it is in the U.S., the number of people that know at least some English is higher, considering there are 10 times the amount of people in China than the U.S. Well, here's another weirdy, freaky thing. Almonds, or almonds as some people call it if you're from South Jersey, almonds are peaches. Wait a minute. This sounds really strange, but almonds are really peaches. Almonds, peaches, as well as apricots or apricots and plums are members of the family Rosaceae or Rosaceae. I don't know how you pronounce that. They're members of the genus Prunus and the subgenus Amygdalus. I know I'm not impressing you with all of this, but this is known by doctors more than scientists because not a lot of people are allergic to peaches, but some are allergic to almonds. And when they have an allergic reaction to eating a peach pit, they wonder why. And the doctor lets them know that they are in the same family as almonds. In reality, this is life-saving knowledge here for those with allergies. But for those without them, it's just pretty cool. Almonds are peaches, and peaches are almonds. Are we done with this? Well, there's one other weird thing that I really didn't want to know either. The average person will eat 8 spiders in their sleep in their lifetime. Oh, dear God. Let's not even go to that one. Let's just, we're not even going to go there. Another thing, though, that you may not have known, things that I didn't know, there are 6 times more empty houses in the United States than there are homeless people. I don't know about you, but somebody's got to do something about this. This is more sickening than spiders to me. In the U.S. alone, there are about 3 million homeless people. And these are kids who have been abandoned or have run away from foster care, or wives who have run away from abusive relationships, or maybe even elderly veterans who can't afford a place to stay and can no longer live off disability. But yet there are almost 20 million vacant homes in the U.S. And if each one of them, think about it, just one took a home, there would be a whole lot left. However, if you put 10 of them in one house, that would take less than 1 million houses, and that's less than 5% of the houses that are available. Who knew that such a small act could end homelessness? You know, you learn a lot of things on this Ubiquitous podcast, but when I found that one out today, that made me mad. Crazy how the world works. I don't understand it. But on to the real reason why I have you on this episode with me today. Things that I didn't know. One of the earliest Dr. Seuss books that I remember hearing and reading is Green Eggs and Ham. And like so many Dr. Seuss stories, the repetition of words and the fun drawings made it easy to learn and fun to listen over and over. And for those of you who don't know the story, there is a character named Sam I Am, who spends all his time begging, pleading, and otherwise relentlessly trying to get another yellow character with a tall black hat, whose name we never really learn in the book, to try green eggs and ham. You know, we can understand the other character's reluctance to eat green eggs and ham that is also green, but some people don't like to eat green vegetables like broccoli or spinach or Brussels sprouts, Jeff Duffield, even though they're very good for us. But at least they're supposed to be green. It's something else to be urged to try something new that doesn't look or sound right to us. You know, things that I didn't know. Eggs are supposed to be golden, yellow, and white, not green. Of course we learned that, but in the book, the eggs are green and the ham is green, and it doesn't sound very appealing to most of us. Anyway, no matter how many different ways Sam I Am asks, no matter how many different places he suggests, here, there, a house, a box, a car, a tree, a train, in the dark, in the rain, or in a boat, or how many different dining companions he offers, a mouse, a fox, or even a goat, the answer is always, I do not like green eggs and ham. I do not like them, Sam I Am. And he refuses to try them. You know, how we feel about the portrayal of this character with the black hat may reflect my own personality. I got to tell you, some of us may admire the self-knowledge, steadfastness, and refusal to be pressured into eating a meal high in cholesterol, fat, and sodium. Others may regard him as stubborn or close-minded or frankly boring because he's so set in his ways he's not willing to try something new. Well, the funny thing is, everything we like in life, whether a type of food, a style of music, or a friend, at some point was new to us and something we never tried or experienced before. And this past week, Jeff and I encountered a friend that we didn't even know had a story that was astounding. It was something new to us. It was like our eyeballs and our brain just exploded. Come to find out, when Jeff and I were with the Sammy Hall Singers back in 1974, we sang and performed at a high school in Xenia, Ohio. And who would know that in the congregation that night, there would be a young man named JT who was a drug dealer as a sophomore in high school, would come to find Jesus at that Sammy Hall Singer meeting. And we finally heard his story, and then we share with him. It wasn't but 2 weeks after that entire town was wiped out by a tornado. In fact, the very high school that Jeff and I sang with Sammy Hall and the band was completely wiped out. And JT told us with tears in his eyes just this past week at the Quartet Convention in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, he looked at us, he said, "That was the mile marker of my life. And little did I know that you and Jeff were part of Sammy Hall and part of that crusade team. It was something that we didn't know." Do you feel like sometimes your life is an open book and you feel like there's no one in the world that has an idea about your testimony or about your ethics or about the way you carry your life? Do you feel like you're an island sometimes? Well, join the crowd, because sometimes as a Christian, we feel like nobody hears our message, or no one takes a chance to even look into your life and look at your history and say, wow, you've walked with Jesus all of these years. But little did we know that back in 1974, as a 19-year-old, that God would place a position where we would share Jesus and a young man give his life to Christ. Man, I got to tell you something. My self-knowledge and my steadfastness and my refusal sometimes just is overwhelming. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean it in a good way. I mean, sometimes I'm stuck in my own little way of thinking and doing, and that's not such a bad thing. If we never, though, tried something new, we'd all still be trying to survive on breast milk or baby food, and we'd still be wearing diapers. And maybe back in 1974, I kind of was, semantically still on breast milk in the kingdom. I was still, baby fooding it out as far as knowing how to share Jesus. And maybe I was still wearing those spiritual diapers of making mistakes, but somehow, some way, a young person in an audience found Jesus as a result of my imperfection. We'd never have learned how to drive a car or play a musical instrument or learn how to cook or knit. There's a restaurant here Jeff and I frequent here in town called Toots. And we always order, at least I do, we always seem like we order the same exact thing every time we go. And a couple of times I've ordered something else, but I've never liked it as much as I like the shrimp salad. So I basically get it every time until they just recently took it off the menu. And man, I was ready for a civil war here. Human beings often habituate that way. We want to do the same thing. Once we find out that something we love, we simply want to do it over and over, and we don't like to disrupt that routine, and we try something new only to be disappointed because we don't like it as much as what we already know. Now, you may have heard me talk about Evelyn Humphreys in a previous episode, maybe. Evelyn was one of those legalistic old-school Christians who, once she got saved, turned into a human form of the Holy Spirit. I'm going to tell you, or at least she tried anyway. God forbid if anyone sat in her regular seat on the pew in our little church. She'd often say, when a visitor would come in, "Well, that's where I sit, young man. You took my place." And I actually saw that one time. And here it is, this visitor, this guy who just literally came off the streets to attend a church service, to find the Lord, or at least to find peace. And then you have this Christian saying to her, or saying to them, "You're in my seat." But I got to tell you, the visitor very sweetly acquiesced, and change was not something welcomed by Sister Humphreys, as we called her. So in life, we can get very used to the circumstances. And, let's just face it. Even the difficult can become familiar so that a change or something new is not welcomed. Or we can grow so hopeless that we simply don't believe a situation is going to get better. And the evil one would love for you to believe that. Jeff and I have talked about this countless times. Have we made a difference? And we even talked about it today in the car as we were driving home from Pigeon Forge. Do we make a difference in the world of music? Is anybody paying attention? Has anyone been inspired by what we've done or said or what we've created? And that's the human part of us. We want that realization. We want that gratification. But I think there are going to be times where God is going to protect us from getting a big head. Because if we really knew how much you and my story affects other people, it would go to our heads. And that's why I think God just prevents us from knowing everything in this realm. And then, of course, one day in heaven, it's all going to be revealed to us. In Isaiah 43, the people of Israel are feeling hopeless because their nation was conquered. The temple in Jerusalem was ransacked and destroyed, and they're in exile in a foreign land with unfamiliar customs and food and a different language. And the Lord is telling the people of Israel that just as their ancestors were led out of slavery in Egypt through the wilderness to a new place to live, the time will come when God will lead them from their time of exile in Babylon back home. And God speaks through the prophet saying, "Do not remember the former things or consider the things of old. I love this, I'm about to do a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? It will make a way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert. And the wild animals will honor me, the jackals and the ostriches, for I give water in the wilderness, rivers in the desert, to give drink to my chosen people, the people whom I formed for myself, so that they might declare my praise." Now, it's kind of funny to me that many Christians can be among the people least interested in trying something new. I'm telling you, I saw it this week. And while we have progressively going in all kinds of music directions, there are still some that refuse to do something new. We see this from the first book of the Bible to the last. Genesis begins with the God of doing something new, creating the heavens and the earth and all that is in them. And when it comes to becoming a Christian, it's about having a new birth, a new heart, and a new spirit, and a new life. And Romans 6, verse 4 says, "Therefore we have been buried with him by baptism into death, so that just as Christ was raised from the dead by the glory of the Father, we too might walk in newness of life." Now, to some, that might be something they never heard before. That might be something brand new, like it was brand new to JT that night at Xenia High School. This was a brand new world that he had not experienced before, things he didn't know. But you know what? We shouldn't be the same old ornery self when we were before we asked Christ into our life, because 2 Corinthians 5:17 says, "If anyone is in Christ, there is a new creation. Everything old has passed away. Everything has become new." You know, the gospel group, the Cathedrals, do a fun version of the song, "He Made a Change." You know, we're old school. I love the old song. I love quartet Southern gospel singing. He made a change. He made a change in the way I'm walking. He made a change. He made a change in the way I'm talking. You know that song. Old things pass away. Behold, everything's new. He made a change. He made a change in the life that I'm living. I'm born again, set free, finally forgiven. If he can make a change in me, praise God, guess what? He can make a change in you. And part of that change and newness of following Christ is that God leads us into sometimes a little bit of a discomfort. You know, I got to tell you, it's not going to be a bed of roses. Some people will not want you to change. In fact, they're going to look at you and say, "I liked you better when you were this way." In fact, your change may threaten them. I've had people tell me that for years. I liked it better, Sue, when you did this, or you looked like that, or your hairstyle was that way, or you said this. But you know what? God creates all of us, even going back from 1974 to 2022. God creates us to change and grow. So grow and change anyway. In Ephesians 4:24, we're told, clothe yourselves with the new self, created according to the likeness of God in true righteousness and holiness. So Isaiah 43 was speaking about new things to the Israelites who were refugees in an unfamiliar land. And just as Sam I Am wants to share green eggs and ham because he believes they are good for his friend and he'll like them, so we too might find the Bible to be a new and thrilling book if we give it a chance. Things I didn't know would affect the world. What if we already feel that way about it? Like Sam I Am, we want to share it with others for whom it is new. When was the last time you memorized a new Bible verse that helped strengthen and sustain you? Things you might not know about are right in front of you. Trying something new doesn't come easy for a lot of us, including those of us who have been in the church for a long time, sadly. We like what we like, and we want everyone else to do what we like too. And the old saying about the 7 last words of the church being, we've never done it this way before, is sadly true to many congregations. And it's like the joke that asks, how many Baptists or how many Assembly of God or how many Methodists does it take to change a light bulb? Change in the church? Are you kidding? You know, and music is an area where trying something new has been challenging, the worship wars for years. But yet throughout the hymnal of the Bible, the book of Psalms, we are encouraged over and over and over to sing a new song to the Lord. Psalm 96, which we used as a call to worship song on occasion. Oh, sing to the Lord a new song. Sing to the Lord, all the earth. Sing to the Lord, bless his name, and tell of his salvation from day to day. So, I want to ask you, we can write a new song like Psalm 98 even. Oh, sing to the Lord a new song, for he has done marvelous things. His right hand and his holy arm have worked salvation for him. There's even a specific verse for people like us, who used to live on the East Coast. Sing to the Lord a new song, his praise from the end of the earth. You who go down to the sea and all that fills it, the coastlands and their inhabitants. That's me, the South Jersey girl. Even in heaven, we're going to have to keep learning new songs. This probably didn't occur to me. This is something that I didn't really think about or I didn't know. Revelation 5:9 says, and they sang a new song saying, worthy are you to take the scroll and to open its seals, for you were slain, and by your blood you ransomed people for God from every tribe and language and people and nation. At the end of Green Eggs and Ham, the tall yellow character with the black hat finally gives in and consents to trying them, so Sam I Am will finally leave him alone. How many do that? You raise your hand. Okay, I'm just going to try it to get him off my back. And after all the fuss and refusals and protests and objections, much to his surprise, he discovers that in trying something new, he has found something new that he likes very much. Every tradition we treasure was once something new that had to be tried. That's true in our personal lives and families as well as in the church. Be open to trying something new, because if you're not, you might miss out on what the Lord wants to do for and in and with and through you. Thank you, Sam I Am, for the reminder to be open to trying something new. Things I didn't know, but I want to know, especially from Revelation 21. I saw a new heaven and a new earth, and for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, And the sea was no more, and I saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, "See, the home of God is among mortals. He will dwell with them as their God. They will be his people, and God himself will be with them. He will wipe every tear from their eyes, and death will be no more. Mourning and crying and pain will be no more, for the first things have passed away." Things I didn't know, and one day I will know, and so will you. You know, you're a family to me. And when I'm speaking to you, I think of you literally as being blood relatives. You are family to me. And on this episode 122, I would love to hear your response. Send me an email at radiosue@me.com. I would love to hear about how you're dealing with things that are changing around you and how you're handling that. You never know that in your lifetime, by serving Jesus, you might just one day have a JT come up to you and say, "Back in 1974, when you sang at Xenia, Ohio, at the high school, I gave my heart and life to Jesus. Something I didn't know, but now I know." Get on SueDuffield.com and be sure and send us your email on the subscribe button so we can stay in touch. Facebook is getting weird. Twitter is getting weird. Instagram, TikTok, they're all having all their algorithms changing constantly. But one thing that we've learned that hasn't changed in several decades is email. And that is a way that we can keep in contact with you. I love you with all of my heart, and I thank you for being a part of this Ubiquitous podcast. We'll see you next time.